Hi, welcome. This is the fourth week of Lent, so this is our fourth Fireside chat. We're up to chapter 12 of our congregational read for Lent 2022, In the Grip of Grace. This is the chapter called Turning Yourself In. To help you place it, this is the chapter where Max starts with the story of the really incompetent bank robber. But what he's really after is turning yourself in the way Paul turned himself in Romans chapter 7. In Romans chapter 7, Paul made confessions like, "What a wretched man I am. I am sold as a slave to sin." And that's the point of this chapter, the power of confession. You've heard the expression, confession is good for the soul, and the Bible would absolutely agree with that statement. It really is. It's part of a powerful, dynamic relationship with God. And that's why Max talks about the problem that some of us have when we don't really confess. He talks about the distinction between asking for pardon, true confession, and asking for amnesty, which is sort of like, yeah, God, I know I messed up, but maybe you've done that. Like in the moment of silence that we use in worship before we do the common confession, thought, word, deed. But we say, if there's anything particularly troubling you, now is the time. Have you ever sort of cataloged some things off, but found yourself adding a "but I" or "except for"? That's not real confession. See, confession works because we trust that God really does hold us in the grip of grace. That's why we can ask for pardon. Great people in the Bible were passionate confessors. Think of David after he got caught with adultery with Bathsheba and killing her husband Uriah the Hittite. And Nathan accused him, and David went before God, and he didn't say, well, yeah, I did it, but she was on the roof, or yeah, but Uriah wouldn't. He just says, I know my transgressions. God, you're justified when you judge. So create in me a clean heart, oh God. He really trusts God's pardon. It makes for a passionate life. But when we don't really confess, we lose that. We lose the power that comes when we simply ask God, I want you to understand why I did something wrong. Instead of simply saying, what I did was wrong, please forgive me. When we trust the grip of grace that God really holds us because of what Jesus has done for us, we're safe. Pardon, trust, grace. So Max tells us stories. Yeah, I know, batteries died on both of them. So Max trusts the stories. He tells the story of Nehemiah before he goes to rebuild the walls of Jerusalem. What Nehemiah does, thanks Mo, what Nehemiah does is they spend like 3 days in confession first. Peter, the reason we know the stories about Peter that aren't so complimentary, it's because Peter told them most of them happened in private, just between Jesus and Peter. But Peter understood and really trusted God's grace, and that's why we have the great stories of Peter and forgiveness that worked there. And of course, David, a man after God's own heart, but we certainly should also include, Esther, who before she goes before the king to ask to save the people, asks Mordecai and everybody else, hey, pray and fast so that I might earn the right. And for 3 days they do that. Confession is a passionate thing. It trusts grace. It trusts that God really holds us closely. So if things get a little cool between you and God, one of the places to check is, are you really asking for pardon? Are you owning your sin? Or are you just kind of making excuses and asking God for understanding and amnesty? Because we trust the grip of grace, we trust the process of confession, we can turn ourselves in because we know that God's not going to turn us over, but He's going to hold us close. He's going to forgive us. Blessings on your evening. Have a great day. See you on Sunday.